Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Wege Prize Awards. My name is Gail DeBryan, and I'm chair of the Collaborative Design, Furniture Design, and Master of Arts Design programs at Kendall College of Art and Design of Ferris State University, as well as a Sustainability Officer at KCAD, as we like to call our college. We're coming to you live from our home in Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA, where due to COVID-19, we are holding this event entirely virtually for the first time ever. While we're taking extra precautions this year for the safety of everyone involved, including practicing social distancing with our small crew here in our studio, we're more excited than ever to give our finalist teams a powerful platform to share their important work with the world. And I think it's safe to say that given the immense challenges our world is currently facing, this work is more critical now than ever before. Today, for the 7th year in a row, we'll witness college and university students from around the world collaborating across institutional, disciplinary, and cultural boundaries to envision game-changing solutions to complex, layered, wicked problems. And we'll see how these ideas can help us rethink the way we produce, consume, helping power transition from a linear economy in which we take, make, and dispose to a circular economy that is restorative by design. Past Wege Prize winners have brought some fascinating and inspiring ideas to the table.
So what do we propose? We propose the holistic hospital concept, an integrated approach to hospital wastewater management.
To build resilient and sustainable villages by employing data science and helping small farmers improve their decision making.
So we're an affordable and sustainable furniture line that incorporates a circular system that shifts the end-of-life responsibility from the user back to the manufacturer.
Basically, Sabun Sake is just creating biocompost fertilizer using the combined method of vermicomposting and bioinoculated bagasse, which is wasted, and also buffering that app by rescuing food with a web-based technology that allows us to ensure that the 60% of post-harvest loss of sugarcane does not make the circular economy loosen up, but tighten it further and facilitate that process.
I'm here to talk to you about Hand Me Up, a children's secondhand clothing subscription service. With the help of the Wege Prize, we are hoping to scale our vision for the circular economy of children's clothing.
We do not seek to be a business that brings tours to see indigenous communities. We seek to be a collaborative tool built as a platform cooperative that creates communities that are capable themselves to create and operate their own tours.
We think that we have the potential to totally transform the way that people look at organic waste for decades to come, and while also changing the way that we fuel our agricultural system.
And beyond succeeding in Wege Prize, these incredible young people and their ideas have spurred action, growing and evolving beyond this competition to make real differences in the world. Today, we're going to hear from 5 teams of undergraduate and graduate students who have spent the last 9 months working to envision their own compelling and realistic solutions to wicked problems of their choosing. But before we get started, we'd like to recognize that this competition would not be possible without the continued financial support of the Wege Foundation. For 50 years, the Wege Foundation has been planting seeds that develop leaders in economicology, health, education, and arts, while enhancing the lives of people here in West Michigan and around the world. We are beyond grateful for the Foundation's support, and we look forward to continuing the important work of the Wege Prize in 2021. I'd also like to thank KCAD and its Wege Center for Sustainable Design for supporting the Wege Prize from the beginning. This competition simply would not be possible without the creative experience and perspective KCAD brings to the table as a College of Art and Design. And last but not least, we thank every single student who participated in the Wege Prize 2020. Each of you showed a creative and collaborative spirit, a thirst for innovation, and a compassionate dedication to improving our world that was truly inspiring. And no matter if you're a finalist or not, your ideas are valid, your work is important, and the leadership and empathy you've displayed are exactly what the future desperately needs. Now, Just a few pieces of information I'd like to mention before we begin. Since we cannot be together to cheer in person, please cheer on social media. And don't forget to use the hashtags KCAD and Wege Prize when you do. Also, be sure to connect with us on social media by following Wege Prize on Facebook and Twitter, and by following KCAD Wege Center for Sustainable Design on LinkedIn. We also have a Wege Prize competitions to join today and start connecting with other folks around the world. There will be a 10-minute break after the third presentation for everyone to stretch their legs, use the restroom. And finally, this is an accessible virtual event. We are pleased to offer live captioning of today's presentations, as well as sign language interpretation, courtesy of the American Sign Language Interpreters from Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services, who are with us in studio here today. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our MC, Bridget Clark-Whitney, who is the president and founding CEO of Kids Food Basket, a grassroots community organization that nourishes children to reach their full potential. Bridget.
Good morning. Thank you, Gail. I'm honored to be back for another Wege Prize. It's absolutely amazing to see the strength of the teams and their ideas grow each year. And as you know, as someone who works to tackle wicked problems every day, I always come away from this event inspired and invigorated to keep pushing forward. But enough about me. The spotlight today may be on the finalists of Wege Prize 2020, but this year's competition drew the largest field of competitors yet. 29 teams of 5 representing 24 countries, 64 academic institutions, and 100 unique academic disciplines. Pretty cool. Amazing diversity there, folks. I don't know about you, but this is the only student competition I'm aware of that requires teams to pull members from different schools and from different fields of study, helping them bring a broader and more inclusive perspective to their work. Deciding which teams move on to the final stage is never an easy choice for Wege Prize judges. So again, congratulations to each and every one of this year's participants who were brave and bold enough to face this challenge head on. And speaking of our judges, they are amazing. They've dedicated an enormous amount of time and energy to providing our teams with focused feedback and guidance throughout every stage of competition. That kind of personalized approach with built-in feedback loops is another reason Wege Prize is truly a unique competition. So let's meet the judges now, starting with our core judges who are presiding over today's event. Christopher Carter is an educator, seasoned animator, and storyboard artist, and a highly regarded sculptor whose work has been featured in numerous museum and gallery exhibitions and private collections. He's also a trustee of the Wege Foundation. Welcome, Christopher. Alicia Garmalevich researches digital fabrication and the circular economy, with a particular focus on open data and local material markets for 3D printing. As an associate professor of high-tech entrepreneurship at the University of Santiago in Chile, and is an associate fellow at Oxford University. Welcome, Alicia. Nathan Shedroff is an associate professor at California College of Arts in San Francisco, where he founded the groundbreaking MBA in Design Strategy program. He's also an author, a serial entrepreneur, and a pioneer in experience design, interaction design, and information design, who researches, speaks, and teaches internationally. Welcome, Nathan. Colin Webster works as a learning content manager with the UK-based Ellen MacArthur Foundation, a global leader in circular economic thought, education, and development. He helps power the Foundation's Disruptive Innovation Festival, creates educational resources, and works with universities through the Foundation's Schmidt-MacArthur Fellowship Program. Welcome, Colin. And rounding out the core judge group is Michael Warner. Michael is the lead for circular economy at Google, where his mission is to eliminate toxic chemicals from consumer products and drive higher environmental performance and sustainability in product design. Welcome, Michael. We'd also like to recognize our preliminary judges who guided teams' work through the first phase of the competition. Wendy Ogilvie of the Grand Valley Metro Council, Mary Ellen Micah of Steelcase, Tom Newhouse of Thomas J. Newhouse Design, Dave Renard of Steelcase, and Bill Stow of Sustainable Research Group. Thank you all. All of our judges have been instrumental in making Wege Prize 2020 a success. Thank you, judges, so much. And now, it's time for our finalist teams to share their ideas with the world. We'll be awarding over $30,000 in total cash prizes to the teams whose ideas inspire the greatest hope for real-world success. Each finalist team has designated one member to present. Presenters will have 10 minutes to outline their team solution in its entirety, followed by a 10-minute Q&A with the judges. Presenters, you will hear the following warning sound when you have 1 minute left. There it is. The same sound will play when your time is up. All right, let's get started. Presenting for our first team, Further Food, is Margot Selnow, hailing from the United States and fresh off earning her undergraduate degree in environmental and sustainability studies from Grand Valley State University right here in Grand Rapids. How you doing, Margot?
I'm doing good. I have a little pep in my step this morning.
Yes, sounds great. All right, well, we are thrilled to hear you. Take it away. The stage is yours.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Margot Selnow from the team Further Food. My team and I started this project with the understanding that we must see where problems lie in current systems and to see where there are opportunities for change. Now, in our local community, Kent County, there's enough trash to fill the 10,000-person venue, Van Andel Arena, 8 times over. That is a lot of trash. Starting this project, we saw, according to the National Resource Defense Council, by weight, food is the largest contributor to the United States landfills. This trash is composed of a number of items, but one valuable wasted potential: food waste. We decided to look at the problem of food waste at universities and how we can better their current systems. Today, the college food system is built upon a linear format where food is bought, cooked, and thrown away. In the United States alone, university students each produce 142 pounds of food waste annually. Rather than just dumping any leftovers in the trash, what if we could further our food? This is Further Food. We are offering a circular business model to provide students with to-go meals, as well as diverting spoiled food to an on-campus composting system, providing students and faculty with research and academic opportunities. Our program reduces food waste that would otherwise be going to landfills or off-campus composting companies. For our focus prototype, we have developed a system that is a part of Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, right here. And they have a student population of 25,000. And we did this prototype with the intent to expand our prototype at many universities around the world. Now, through our process, we worked with industry professionals to inform our decisions along the way, with Greg Manikowski, Yusuf Darwich, and Scott Rosen. Our process consists of campus dining cooking the food to be sold to customers. The food is then delivered to customers. The unsold food would then be repackaged with Further Food branding, and this food would be sold to the student population, giving it a new life. If it's not immediately sold, it will be donated to the school food bank. Finally, it can be composted if it is not taken advantage of after a determined period of time or when the student is done with their meal. Thanks. For a successful prototype, we are working with Aramark, and that is Grand Valley's food provider, also the Sustainable Agriculture Project, which is known as the SAP. I will be using the acronym, and that is Grand Valley's Campus Farm, as well as Campus Dining and the Office of Sustainability. Now, we have developed a regenerative system that utilizes unused food from campus dining and turns it into packaged meals at the cafeteria during final hours of operation, as well as then taking leftovers to the on-campus composting facility. By doing this, we are creating a longer life cycle and recycling the nutrients to minimize the idea of waste. For our repurposed meal prototype, we are using a BioPlus meal package. This take-home box is made from compostable materials while still being able to be microwavable safe. Now, this window you see in the picture is included to provide the buyer with the ability to view the product. Finally, the further food labeling is made from sugarcane paper that is unbleached and certified compostable. The compost process includes anaerobic digestion, and this is the process by which organic matter is broken down in the absence of oxygen, and this is to produce either biogas or biofertilizer. Now, Grand Valley will be using the earth flow system, and it is designed so that the mixing, the aeration, and the moisture will all be automated. And this allows for the machine to be very high efficiency while still having very low labor costs. In total, the earth flow system is capable of composting between 300 pounds and 3 tons of food or biodegradable material per day. Diverting the food waste into new meals adds value to the enterprise and gives students access to nutritious while readily available meals. This system fills a need both in landscaping, university farms, and gardens by providing ready-to-use compost, thus reducing the cost of purchasing soil from an outside source. Now, we surveyed Grand Valley students to see if there would even be a need for this type of packaged meal, and we got 40 responses that validated our assumptions. We asked, how many times would you want a packaged meal? And 82% of respondents said at least once a week. We then looked at what the competition for further food would be. And this consisted of vending machines and fast food off-campus restaurants. However, we do believe that students would adapt further food because there are benefits like the instant on-the-go full meals, reduced prices, convenience, and healthy eating options. At Ferris State University, also in Grand Rapids, they have seen a 10% increase in pre-packaged sandwiches sales. And this is after producing the meals themselves rather than buying from a third-party company. Ferris State University convenience stores serve students and faculty, and they see an average of 500 to 600 patrons a day. They save money, and it provides an additional profit stream for the university. It decreases food waste, and it increases university social responsibility and identity. This is why universities should adopt Further Foods program. At Grand Valley State University, there is a partnership between campus dining and the SAP, the campus farm, that we have been strengthening. While the sale of the prepackaged meals to subsidize our program is a first plan, we also plan on taking meals not sold right away and donating them to Replenish. This is Grand Valley's food bank. Their food bank serves about 200 to 300 students in the network, but have about 800 to 1,000 students that visit in the academic year. Our goal is for the meals to be prototyped as soon as possible, once hopefully this whole coronavirus thing is over. And the SAP will also be supplying us with land for the new compost system, shovels, including additional support of materials and time to bring our project to fruition. The total costs would be $72,000. While the necessary materials and structures would be upfront costs, the labor and materials will have to spread out throughout time. The revenue of Further Food would be dependent on the sales of the meals, as well as saving on costs for producing compost. The funding would come from donations, external funding, and the EAGLE grant, which the Grand Valley State University is applying for. It is a $1 million grant. And after the startup costs and the first year operating costs, we would have over $740,000 left over, which could last as long as 30 years with maintenance. Our net profit is just over $126,000, which surpasses our operating costs. Now, without the EAGLE grant, our payback would be at 3 years, where we would be profiting $85,000. At Ferris State University, they're moving in the direction of this collaboration. They're now looking to buy a composter, and they are already selling packaged meals. Our program would help provide the evidence to support their transition to our program. Our next phase universities focus on ones both big and small. First, prioritizing small to mid-sized universities will already have a campus farm that can work off this prototype. Phase 2 universities include Marquette University and Western Michigan University. We are university students, and through Wege Prize, as well as our own motivations, we have seen how we can change food waste management at the campus dining level, how our curiosities and insights can yield greater solutions, seeing our local solutions being replicated on a national scale across universities. Thank you.
Congratulations, Margot. That was great. Thank you so much. We're going to let the judges talk amongst themselves, and then we'll come back together. Great. Good. So why don't you tell us, you have just graduated from Grand Valley State University. What is next for you, and what's going on for you in the future, and how are you going to carry this idea with you?
Good. So I graduated, and prior I worked at our campus farm where we are doing the prototype. So my boss managed to want to start his own landscaping company at the same time I was graduating. So I managed to get hired as the interim farm manager where our prototype is taking place. And so that makes it extra convenient for us because we will be carrying out the prototype regardless of kind of the end results with this competition. We went into this wanting it to be a real life solution and to actually happen. So I'm lucky that I'll be in the position with my job to carry that over.
Good for you. That's incredible. I'm here in Grand Rapids, so I'm very interested in what you're doing, and certainly the amount of need that exists and the amount of waste that's produced. So good for you guys to be so passionate about this as well. What do you think, judges? We ready? All right, sounds good. We'll hand it over to our judges for some Q&A. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, will I kick off then? Am I live?
Go for it.
Margot, I thought that was excellent. Really enjoyed your presentation and love the ambition that you've got as well. The first question really that sprung to my mind was on the packaging. Why have you gone for this style of packaging? And I appreciate it's compostable, which is a good option to go for. But I would imagine reusable packaging might be an even better option. I just wonder why you have gone with this rather than reusable.
Right. So at our university right now, we do have reusable packaging. That is something that they are prototyping right now. It does cost $5 per, and it is also not microwavable. Now, that is a current option at the university, and that can definitely be an option for our project. And I think it could be up to the student to kind of decide which one they want. But the reason why we chose the packaging that we have right now is because, one, it's microwavable. It would be very on the go, which is what a lot of our students, our market, is doing. Speaking for myself as a student, I'm on the go all the time, and that's just the nature of how we eat in the university today. And then we really liked the feature of the window so they could see the product. I'm sure throughout our research, there is some stigma to leftover food. And so we wanted to kind of slash that stigma right, just get it out of the way. And to show that this is just as good as new. There's not a problem with this food, and that is perfectly good. So that is the reason as to why we picked that packaging.
Is that window problematic though? I see my fellow judges are wanting to raise that point. What's the window made of, and is it plastic? Is it a problem when it comes to processing?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean in terms of processing?
Well, it goes into compost, doesn't it, at the end of its life?
Oh, yes. Thank you for this question. This is actually very important. So the thing about the composter system that we will be having, the earth flow, Basically, it's been tested at other universities to see if biodegradable materials such as silverware or straws can be actually composted in it. And throughout our research, our connections at other universities who have this have recommended not to put those in there, the biodegradable straws, the biodegradable silverware. So what they actually do is they do two streams. They do the food waste into their on-campus composting system, but then they do any silverware or straws, things like that, and they divert it to an off-campus composting facility. So when we're doing this prototype, we will still have to have the two streams, but we still think that it's better because we're able to keep it on campus, we're able to keep it in the university, and then whatever goes out with the packaging, we can buy back and pull it back in, because we want to make sure that nothing gets out and we are doing a circular economy closed loop.
Margot, I have a question for you. It was a great presentation, and I really think your solution has a lot of promise. I'm curious how you plan to approach the model of development going forward. Do you plan to be a company? Do you plan to be kind of an advocacy group for this solution in working with universities? Because I think it's a great idea, but I would be very concerned that it just fades out for want of continual pressure on the universities. So I wanted to know, what's your vision for keeping this idea alive, and what does that vision look like in the form of an organization?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we have had to address this question within ourselves as well. It's come back many times, and we keep coming to this conclusion that it needs to be within the university. And we're going about it in a way where we're hoping to be a model for other universities. And of course, we can share what we're doing at conferences. We can make a toolkit. We can make it accessible. We want to make it easy for other universities to also make this switch, because that is how important it is to us and the world and the state of everything going on. So any way that we can work together with other universities, our partner corporations, our partner nonprofits, and to not only have universities take this on, that was just our first phase, but also this can be replicated in so many different ways, different corporation restaurants, right? And so this doesn't just have to be universities, but we are a model for it to happen.
That makes sense. Just to push on that a little bit, what happens when you guys graduate? Who's going to keep that pressure up or that model alive?
Okay, so one thing that I feel like our team got really lucky with is I now work at Grand Valley. I graduated and that's where our prototype is, but I was managed to get hired as the interim farm manager, which is right in the nexus of all these different partnerships. So that is how I will be able to carry this on with my group. And I'll be able to kind of utilize my new job and to be able to carry it out that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Margot, I have a question, and that is, do you expect or do you see any kind of seasonality in both the food supply and the food demand, as well as any impact the composting has between, let's say, summer, spring, winter, et cetera?
Yeah, so when I was doing research with other universities that have a composting system on campus, they have done it seasonally, and that is how we will do it as well. Because from what we found, it's not efficient, or it doesn't have much of an impact to run the composting system during the summer when not a lot of students are here. So it would be mainly during the fall and winter semesters, but we do have an option to keep it going during the spring and summer, because our farm, the Sustainable Agriculture Project, our prototype, it's 5 acres and it does produce a lot of yard waste. So not to say that it can't keep running, just the food waste from the university probably won't be the main thing going into it at that point.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Margot, I again, like the other judges, have really enjoyed your presentation. So my question for you is, the goal seems to be to eliminate waste. What does success look like for you in years 1, 2, and 3 from a from an economic standpoint, for example? And I might have another question for you as a follow-up.
Okay, so in terms of finances, what would the success look like?
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking you had said that much of your funding is dependent on external sources, donations, external funding, and the ideal here would be that you would have an entirely self-sustaining model within the university and not require external funding to support you. So what does success look like?
Right. Thank you for that clarification. So, of course, Grand Valley is applying to that grant, but we thought it would be best to have a backup plan because we all know grants, we know that it doesn't always work out. So I talked with the Office of Sustainability, their director, Yumiko Jakovic. You guys may be familiar with her. And we talked that the on-campus composting facility would not only be good for, of course, this project, but also actually good for the university itself. Not only with the campus dining, but the ASHE score for the Office of Sustainability. And it just hits everything all around. So she did say that she would be able to direct funds from the Office of Sustainability to buy an on-campus composting system to house it at the Sustainable Agriculture Project. So that would be our backup plan.
Got it. And
now,
go ahead, please.
Yeah, because of course, that's a bulk of the cost, but there is also more costs for the supplies, the bucket, all that stuff. And so that is where we would utilize different student organizations. I have a lot of friends in the student organizations, and you can actually apply to do programming. And so that's how we can weave it into academia, and they can there's so much funding through the university, especially student life. And so we have many clubs here that would want to apply for that and direct it in.
I like that. You're turning this into an education opportunity and an engagement opportunity as opposed to just a revenue generation type of experience. I'll turn it over to Chris to take away the final question.
Yeah, well, I think my question was just answered about the educational opportunities, and I was going to ask you about, you had said that this is mainly going to be directed for other programs that already have farming components. So you've already answered my question. So thank you. And it was an excellent presentation, and you really covered all points. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm glad I could answer all the questions I could.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you, judges. Q&A is always my favorite part of this competition. That was great. Nice work, Margot. Fantastic presentation. So happy to have you here today. All right, we are going to welcome our next presenter. Representing Team Haya Bioplastics is Dennis Sechimpi, who's working on an undergraduate degree in civil engineering at Makerere University in his native Uganda. Dennis, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Sechimpi from Uganda, and I hope everyone is keeping safe. I am part of Haya Bioplastics, a group looking to eliminate single-use oil-derived plastics. Before all this, our lives were different. Before the pandemic and the lockdown started, we lived a different consumer lifestyle. We ate out, had takeaway for our meals, went for parties, served food on disposable plates, and different plastic materials. All this would throw away immediately after use and never really cared where it ended up. We in Uganda, most urban centers have centralized markets where most low and middle income people access fast foods in form of takeaways. This can be compared to how most people in the US can access cheap takeaway meals at McDonald's or KFC, but this is not in a roof or a building. The markets appear serving fast food from about 4 p.m. to midnight on a daily, and most of these vendors sell their food in plastic packaging. Next slide. Let me tell you about these plastics we use. They are inexpensive, lightweight, and easy to make, and these properties have made it the most ideal material to be used for packaging globally, even for our vendors in urban markets in Kampala. In 2015 alone, as you can see, the illustration, global plastic production was up to 400 million tons. Next slide. From this slide, we can see that about 86% of the plastic we use is disposed and listed as waste. 14% is recycled, but an alarming 32% leaks into the environment. Oftentimes, this plastic contains toxic chemicals that are detrimental to both the environment and to humans, where they can lead to health complications. Next slide. How do we solve this? As Haya Bioplastics, we decided to use one problem to solve another. Next slide. But before we get there, the picture was taken a few years back on Lake Victoria and shows a ferry surrounded by water hyacinth with no sight of the lake, but only a green cover. Next slide. Water hyacinth is a free-floating plant whose growth is linked to accumulation of nutrients in freshwater sources. These nutrients end up in the water through water runoff from land where fertilizer has been applied and other forms of water pollution. The weed is very fast growing and has been observed to grow up to about a rate of 5 meters per day in heavily polluted waters, which is about 17.5 tons per hectare per day. This has led to increased coverage in different freshwater sources in the world, from the West in America to the East in Australia, with several others affected in Africa as well, as you could see in the map. It has been utilized in limited low-value applications like crafts, animal feed, but generally viewed as a hazard. Next slide. By blocking waterways in Uganda, it has cost fishermen an additional $2,200 in fuel annually and about $83,000 worth of fishing gear destroyed. Losses valued at about $1.8 million were estimated due to inaccessible landing sites. Pests that can spread diseases like malaria grow in the mud formed by this weed, which affects human populations in those areas. The dead shoots of the hyacinth decompose in water and affect its quality, hence leading to an increased requirement of the chemicals for treatment before supply. Next slide. Another interesting fact we found is that in sub-Saharan Africa, more than 50% of the world's cassava is produced, with more than 40 countries growing it, but mainly as a subsistence crop. The crop, however, has been greatly undervalued, with prices as low as $0.04 per kilogram being paid to farmers. Globally, exporting countries like Thailand opted to reduce their production and exports because of this. There have been attempts to increase its value through use as an additive in animal feed, but no significant value has been marked. What then have we decided as higher bioplastics? Next slide. Higher bioplastics has created a bio-based, biodegradable packaging material using water hyacinth feedstock, cassava starch as a binder, and glycerol as plasticizer. The goal is to reduce existing petroleum-derived disposable packaging used by food vendors not only in Kampala and Uganda, but in Africa at large. At the end of its life, it can be transformed into useful products that have less harm to the environment. Next slide. Water hyacinth, our material, consists of an average of about 11.5 crude fiber, and this is the source of the filler material and reinforcement in our biocomposite material. The hyacinth yields a rigid brittle fiber, and therefore to improve its flexibility and reduce brittleness, glycerol plasticizer is added. The product requires improved hydrophobicity to protect it against moisture, so we considered beeswax layer as a protective biodegradable coating. We also included vinegar since it's observed to offer protection against fungus. The mixture will then be heated and compressed in a mold to form our biodegradable packaging. Next slide. Our feedstock is an invasive plant, and that doesn't compete for arable land with food crops, unlike previously used bioplastics feedstock. Producing a bio-based biodegradable bioplastic is a safer option compared to petroleum-derived plastics, whose production has more carbon emissions, making it less environmentally friendly. Next slide. So we looked at the unit price of our product against the price of a common packaging material in our economic analysis used by fast food vendors, who are our target beachhead market. Clearly, ours slightly exceeds the price of what's on the market, but from our projections, economies of scale can help bring down the cost of our packaging to about $0.1, which is comparable to the existing products. Next slide. We further considered a situation if all hyacinth is exhausted due to high harvesting rates, and we idealized a concept of hyacinth farmers in our economic analysis, who grow hyacinth in urban gardens and tower gardens to avoid competition for arable land. On the left, you can see that each farmer spends about $11 for a 9 square meter farm, yielding about 2,000 shoots per fortnight, based on a growth rate we presented earlier, and we pay off about $21 for this, making it profitable for our farm. Most importantly, on the right, we have our production cost breakdown, based on our estimates from the first and second prototyping trials. All this led to a cost of about $0.124 per packaging material. Next slide. A circular economy is based on 3 principles: regenerating natural systems, keeping products and materials in use, designing out waste and pollution. Our circular economic model looks at closing the loop by providing low-cost compost to farmers from our waste packaging material, which we hope them to improve yields when used in the soil condition, and in particular looking at the cassava farmers who supply us with the binder that we use. We looked at using our waste packaging material to create briquettes and improve their calorific value by adding material like chicken waste. With about 25.4% of families relying on charcoal, and this is dangerous since it's sourced from trees, we look at our briquettes becoming an alternative fuel source, not only to the fast food vendors, but to other Ugandans who depend on this fuel as a source of energy. Next slide. The impact of adopting our product cuts across environmental, social, and economic boundaries. There's significant reduction in pollution once we use bioplastics. Harvesting of hyacinth has improved benefits for communities that will rely on water bodies for a livelihood. And using cassava as a binder in our product has an impact on cassava farmers who have more market for a formerly undervalued product. Our compost can also be used to help them increase yields when they use it as a soil conditioner. Next slide. Let me draw your attention to the most important part of this. For our prototyping, we have been able to carry out interviews with over 20 vendors in Wandegea, a market in the neighborhood of Makerere University, which serves students, and carried out a survey to establish what packaging material is used and average number of clients they attend to. From this, we found out that the market serves mostly university students, and about 2,400 of them, and has about 100 fast food vendors. They depend on aluminium foil and polythene bags, and this is detrimental. Next slide. From this, we realized that a centralized community is established right here in Wandegea, and the data has been able to enable us to build a model that eases collection of our waste in this centralized community through strategically placed customized bins at the halls of residences where the university community can effectively dispose of the biopackaging material as waste for higher bioplastics to access in a composting facility. Countries like Uganda don't really have well-streamlined waste collection facilities, and this is the motivation for us to build our model in a centralized community. Next slide. We were able to develop sheets using our material, using locally available equipment and rudimentary methods, where we did not have an even heating process, hence the dark shade that you see on the sheet that we developed. But since we know that bioplastics are challenged with composting, we use the sheets to test for compostability of our product using different methods, the rectangular windrow, the in-vessel composting method, and aerated static pile to assess which method yields the best quality of compost based on the different standards globally. But we also know that the methods we're using are available in the different composting facilities in the country. Next slide. Scaling up our model can be quite challenging and requires a centralized community to easily and safely collect waste to ensure it ends up in the rightful municipal facilities. The limited knowledge on the potential of bioplastics can hinder adoption, yet they are a good substitute to ordinary plastics. On top of this, there's limited supporting policy to allow speedy adoption of bioplastics in many countries, and Uganda inclusive. Next slide. However, we trust that Uganda's vision for 2040, which calls for a green economy for sustainable development, will give innovations like bioplastics an opportunity to emerge and go into wide-scale application. Next slide. Our team is composed of a multidisciplinary group, and we have focus in different areas which are viable for us to accomplish our target. We also have support and mentors at the university who have specialization in material sciences, and this can help us to achieve our objectives. Thank you very much. Higher bioplastics.
Music break. Dennis, thank you. Extraordinary idea. Congratulations on a wonderful presentation. We're going to give the judges a minute to talk amongst themselves. I'm curious to ask you a question while we wait here. You yourself and another one of your teammates were actually finalists last year for Wege Prize 2019, where you won third place with an idea that enables households and institutions to optimize water usage through gray water recycling. How has that idea developed? Tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. Since then, when we won the award, we went on to participate in other innovation programs where we have been supported greatly to push our idea from the prototype that we set up in the university during the internship program, like we said during the final event last year. So we set up that prototype at the university, and to date, it's well functioning and it's being monitored to see whether the water it produces is meeting the standards for reuse. So we're going to do that for the whole of this year to continue monitoring and ensure that it meets the standards. But yeah, we have really had a tremendous success ever since we left this platform last year.
Nice, nice work. Thank you. Thanks for that follow-up. All right, judges, hand it right over to you. Take it away.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll jump in. Hi there. Great presentation. It was a little bit difficult to follow some of the screens because, at least on my side, it was fairly pixelated. I have two questions, though. Given that this is, first of all, it's fantastic that you're taking on such a big problem. And I really like the solution that you've come to. I'm wondering how biodegradable the packaging actually is, given that it's so fibrous. And so when this is expanded at scale, is that going to be a challenge for most local composting systems?
So to answer that question, so water hyacinth has been previously used as a fertilizer, and it was being composted directly after being harvested. Now, the fiber in itself, being a natural biodegradable material, does not affect the product that we're developing despite the additives. So to ensure that we have compost that will meet standards, we have ensured that we test 3 different methods, because different methods will help us achieve different composting results. So we want to see from those methods if this fiber that we have obtained from the hyacinth will be able to degrade given the different industrial composting techniques that we're applying.
Great. My other question is, how do people know when they're finished with the packaging? How do they know that it's recyclable, and how do you prevent them from simply putting it in the trash like they're used to?
So maybe we didn't elaborate on this very well, but for our prototyping, we decided to start out with the university community, which is surrounded by that market that you saw in the presentation. So the market supplies students in the university with fast foods, and they package them in different materials. So once they adopt our bio-packaging material, the students should access customized bins at the halls of residences that the bins are for our particular product, given the markings and the labels, such that we can efficiently collect our bio-packaging from them.
Thank you.
Hi, I'll jump in. I loved your presentation. I think it's a very, very powerful example of the circular economy in motion, especially thinking about how your local circumstance can give rise to innovation. So I applaud you for that. I think I'd like to know a little bit more about how your model of production could take place at what scale. So my curiosity is whether you think the startup costs could be low enough for many producers to start making your bioplastic, and therefore get to horizontal scaling, allowing your solution to pop up and scale in many locations? Or do you see the need to centralize your production and produce a lot of it in one location?
Yeah, the model we built does depend on a centralized system, and we noticed that we shall be able to break even after a much longer period of time of about 3 years, which is not the very best. But this does enable us to achieve the benefits that come from an environmentally positive solution. Now, once we have set up a machine, which any other person that decides to produce our product needs, just a machine, and they can be able to start producing these products very easily. So the biggest cost and the biggest challenge we have is around the machine and the production costs. But once you've been able to overcome that, obtaining the hyacinth is a free product. You just need labor to harvest it. And that ensures that our product can be profitable, not in a very short period of time as any other product would, but after a period of about 3 years that we projected.
And do you think to enable you to scale like to larger volumes, do you think that do you envision having other machines that in the same location or in other locations to produce the same product?
Oh yes, yeah, the machine can be in any other location to produce the same product. The centralized system is only to enable us to collect our waste efficiently. That's why we decided to start up in such a place whereby we can easily follow up on how people are disposing our waste, so it's easily collected and utilized in composting. So we do not have any fixed system that stops people from producing this. As long as the machine can be set up somewhere else, it can be produced easily.
Thank you.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I love the idea, and I just can't help but think, and I know this, what you've come up with is great, but are there other possibilities to be done with these plastics, with this process? Like, we've seen other processes where people are creating, silverware or other foodstuffs for compostables, but do you see a greater value beyond just creating packaging that's compostable with the bioplastics that you create?
Yes, maybe if I get your question well, I think this is a very valuable benefit of using this feedstock, the water hyacinth, because we're developing a product that's quite profitable for someone who's producing it. Previously, hyacinth has been used to do fertilizer, to do animal feed, like we said in the presentation, and these have been seen to be less profitable ventures, and they do not motivate people to harvest the hyacinth from the lakes. So I do trust and believe from the estimates and the economic assumptions that we developed that our product can give motivation for hyacinth to be harvested, given the benefits economically.
Great. Thank you.
Dennis, I loved your presentation. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Colin. Go ahead.
Loved your presentation, Dennis. Loved your energy that you had for it. And echoing what other people have said, you're trying to tackle a big problem. In fact, you're trying to tackle two big problems at once. The issue of plastic and the issue of an invasive species and the systemic issues that come with that. I wondered where your starting point was for this project. Was it coming up with a plastic alternative, or was it dealing with the water hyacinth?
Our starting point definitely was dealing with the water hyacinth. When we started in this journey, we evaluated the different uses water hyacinth had been placed into, like the fertilizer I said, and animal feed. And we did notice that it's not giving people motivation to harvest or to utilize it. So we needed an alternative which is used much more frequently, much more often by everyone actually. Just food packaging is literally used by many people. So this gives a sense of belonging to the hyacinth, that people will have more motivation to obtain it, given that there's a product which is much more profitable to someone who's producing it. So we began from the hyacinth harvesting issue.
Thank you.
Great presentation. I think my question is a couple things. One, who are your competitors today for the water hyacinth?
Yes, so at the moment, we have identified a few organizations that are trying to use the hyacinth, like I said, for fertilizer production and animal feed. We've identified a small startup in Kenya. It's harvesting hyacinth on the Kenyan side of Lake Victoria to use it in animal feed. And however, they have noticed some problems with it because for them, they only use the leaves and they throw away the stalks. They have much more waste that they're producing. So this has become even a problem still, since people harvest and all they use are the leaves. So they require much more of it, and yet they are giving only value to farmers. While us, we're looking at a situation where we're giving value to just more than farmers, we're giving value to much many other people who are using packaging materials. This is a bigger proportion of the population compared to the farmers, despite it being very valuable in animal feed. So that's
Got it. I don't know what the size of the market is for compostable packaging. So if you could diversify beyond packaging and into other products, what would you target?
Yes, definitely. In the future, I think if we have left the packaging industry, a better alternative would be cutlery that we did try to evaluate earlier. Just that will definitely need a different behavior change from people to adopt this cutlery, which is biodegradable in the fast food industry. Because definitely there are alternatives to this. For example, someone would rather use their reusable fork or reusable spoon, but that did look like a viable option for us to try and venture into once we have left the packaging industry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, judges. Awesome questions. Dennis, great work. for joining us again this year. Waste reduction. So thank you so much for joining us again. And maybe we'll see you again next year. See you later. Thanks. Extra mic here. All right. We're going to move on to our next presenter. Next, presenting for Team Pellet. Please welcome Elias Kagabo, who hails from Rwanda and is now working towards his undergraduate degree in biomedical engineering at Trinity College in the United States. Hi, Elias, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So are you currently in Rwanda or the US?
In Rwanda.
Yeah, are you on lockdown in Rwanda?
Yes, but it's gonna end by Monday.
Rock and roll. You're earlier than us here in Michigan. Well, we are looking forward to hearing your presentation today. The floor is all yours. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As the moderator said, my name is Elias Kagabo, and I'm speaking from Rwanda. I am also representing Pellet Group, and today I will share with you our plan that intends to empower farmers through proper waste disposal. So our agenda today starts with a bit of background, problem definition. I will then talk about our approach. I will continue with our implementation plan and finally impact assessment. So Rwanda, with its surface area of 10.1 thousand square miles, expects its population to double from 11 million to 22 million by 2050. In Rwanda, 80% of the population are directly involved in agriculture, when this sector contributes only 30% to the country's GDP. Talking about agriculture, the demand for fertilizer is very high, and it amounted to 49,000 megatons just in 2019. At the same time, waste disposal is still a big issue, where the only single landfill had become a hub for disease pathogens and a cause for environmental pollution. So there's still people living near the only landfill that we have, as shown in this picture, and they're constantly complaining because of the challenge they face due to this poorly designed landfill that is situated close to them. So from this, we've identified three main problems. The first one being the lack of proper waste disposal. The second being poor crop yield, and the third being the over-dependence on imported inorganic fertilizers. So our motivation comes from these three wicked problems and the idea of circular economy. And we want to tackle these three problems at once. We propose to collect organic waste from restaurants and residences in Kigali and process them into organic fertilizers in form of pellets. So we recognize that farmers are currently using inorganic fertilizers as well as compost, but these types have drawbacks. For instance, inorganic fertilizers require frequent application. They destroy existing soil microorganisms when used frequently, and they're definitely expensive for Rwandan farmers. On the other hand, compost takes forever to be ready for use. It can actually take about 12 to 16 weeks to be ready for use. And these compost can also result in disease pathogens when used with people who don't have enough skills. So why organic pellets? Organic pellets favor complete cycle of nutrients. They promote beneficial microorganisms in the soil. They also stay longer in soil, meaning you don't need to apply them frequently. And they are also environmentally friendly since they contain naturally occurring nutrients. So our technical approach starts with collection of organic waste. We take them into our processing facility. Then pellets are produced and packed and also sent to the storehouse where the farmers can come get them. So what is the process like? So we take the raw materials, we dry them to about 70 degrees, and they're then allowed to cool down to the room temperature. The powder that gets from grinding process is mixed up and enters the pelletizer machine to make pellets. So how do we get raw materials? We conducted a case study where we surveyed 100 families in Gasabo district to determine their compliance. We asked them questions like, do you accumulate organic waste? Would you give us organic waste if we gave you buckets to put them in? Would you be willing to welcome our collectors to come pick them up? Then we assessed the extent to which they will be willing to segregate the waste. The results showed that 93% of the attendees that accumulate organic waste and 49% are willing to separate the waste. So to collect the raw materials, we plan to start with 300 households and give 1 bucket to each household and 2 larger buckets to restaurants. 2 trucks with 2-ton capacity, and these trucks are actually made in Rwanda. We collect waste from those households and take them to the processing facility. We plan to produce 2 tons every week. And for that, we will need to collect 5 tons of raw material, since the ratio of raw material to final product is 6:4, meaning in 100 kilograms of raw material, we will get 40 kilograms of final product. Then we'll add in crop residues, such as beans residues, to enrich the fertilizer with nutrients like nitrogen. So to confirm the feasibility of this business, we ran a prototype at FU University in Costa Rica, where we collected organic waste and made pellets from them. To study the efficacy of this fertilizer, we planted maize with this organic fertilizer. We also planted maize with inorganic NPK. Then we had the control of maize that was planted with no fertilizer at all. At the end of harvest, we realized a 50% increase in yield for maize planted with organic pellets compared to maize planted with no fertilizer. To implement our business, we first had to register our business as a company with the Rwanda Development Board, and we have already received the certificate, as we can see in this slide. So we are allowed to function as a company in Rwanda, and we are allowed to operate in the specified location. So we have already started with equipment acquisition, where we are now working with Henan Gate, a professional manufacturer of fertilizer production lines. We worked with them on specifications for several machines, such as grinder, pellet making and packaging machine, as well as the fertilizer mixer that is shown in this slide. And we're also working on a layout for the entire production line. So we are also speaking with potential markets about our fertilizer. As of right now, One Eco Fund, an NGO that funds and promotes small farmers in Rwanda, has agreed to buy from us. Kawayach Cooperative, a coffee plantation cooperative, has agreed to try our fertilizer once we start producing. Additionally, we are targeting 3 communities, namely Murindi, Kabuga, and Masaka, that neighbor our processing facility. These communities practice subsistence agriculture, and they will be our first market. As of our market strategy, we are already talking with the Rwanda Agriculture Board, which is an implementation agency for the Ministry of Agriculture, so that they can help us reach bigger markets. We also plan to use radio and TV adverts to attract more customers. Our goal is to export the surplus of our fertilizer to the East African community once we scale up. So our competitors are Grow Joy Emerging Rwanda and Massa Rwanda Limited. But these companies only supply inorganic fertilizers. So our competitive advantages are that our product is low priced, where we plan to be selling our product at $80 per a bag of 20 kilograms compared to $11.6 compared to our competitors. Additionally, we are close to the market and our customers don't have to travel a long distance to get the fertilizer. We also have in place a farmer-centered care that is founded on provision of free training on the use of our fertilizer. With our solution, farmers will access fertilizer that is 35% cheaper than synthetic fertilizer. Our business will provide employment to 5 runners in the beginning and many more when we scale up. Based on the results from our prototype, our fertilizer will increase crop yield by 50%. To improve waste disposal in Kigali, it will also reduce environmental pollution as well as a reduction of agriculture-related imports in Rwanda. Our initial capital is $23,974 US. We have the capacity to produce 96 tons within the first year. The projected revenues in the first year are $38,000, and the net profit amounts to $13,700 US. In the second year, the output will be 107 tons, and the net profit will be $33,000. The calculated dividend point is approximately 3,000 bags, meaning 60 bags and 60 tons. And the return on investments is going to be 57% in the first year and 107 in the second year. The payback period is going to be 1 year and 4 months. So our first source of capital is our personal saving, which is 10K now that we've put together so far. We are also targeting a loan from BDF. We also plan to engage investors once we scale up. Indeed, we actually need $13,974 US to start. So I would like to thank Professor Perret, Dr. Barayavuga, Engineer Jack Wamahoro, and the Wege Prize team for the assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elias and Team Pellet. Fantastic presentation, so informative, incredible. We're gonna give the judges a minute or two to talk amongst themselves, and we have a question for you. Read a bit about you and saw that you had a chance to meet both the Rwandan president, Paul Kagame, and former US President Bill Clinton. So tell us about that and tell us about how those opportunities came about.
So I first talk about my meeting with the president of Rwanda was through a program in Rwanda that prepares the best talented Rwandan students to go compete for international scholarships, and that's how I ended in the United States. I didn't have money to take myself there as well, so I met him through his commissioning when he was commissioning myself and my other few students who were selected to get the scholarship to go to study in the United States and in the Europe. So for my meeting with the former president, Bill Clinton, was through my own project that was intending to reduce unintended teenage pregnancies in Rwanda. So I met him when I went to present my project at the Clinton Global Initiative University in Chicago. So that's how I met him.
Incredible. That's incredible. Well, thank you for your work on that. Looks like our judges are ready, so we're going to hand it over to them for some Q&A. Good luck.
Okay, so I think Mike.
Good. Okay. All right. We're going to keep chatting while the judges keep chatting. Judges, you need a couple more minutes? Are you ready for Elias to be ready for your rapid fire questions? Good. Thumbs up. All right. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Alicia. Take it away.
Mind if I jump in first?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, well, great presentation, and thank you for all of your great work throughout the competition. So I noticed that you had said you need to produce 2 tons of fertilizer per week, so you will need to collect 5 tons of food waste per day. With just some quick math, I think you were talking about prototyping with 100 buckets. So 100 buckets, that's 100 pounds of food per day per bucket. Is that accurate, or is that 100 buckets just a very early prototype concept with one community? I'm struggling because 100 pounds of food waste per household per day is a lot of waste. So could you help me understand how you will achieve that 5-ton collection per day?
All right. Thanks, first, for catching that. So that was a mistake that is in the slide. So it was supposed to be a 5 tons per week. And as we start, we're not going to start with 100 buckets. It's 300 buckets. And we saw that was possible from the survey that we did, since some of the waste providers are going to be restaurants and others are going to be just households. So from restaurants, we'll be able to accumulate more waste. So it was a mistake. It was just a mistake.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll turn it over to my other judges, but come back if I have another question and if we have time.
Elias, I'll jump in. So my question is, how does your organic fertilizer compare to inorganic fertilizer in your study that you did of yield of maize?
So just for the yield, the increase in yield was the same for organic fertilizer and for inorganic fertilizer. So what is different for our case and the implementation in Rwanda is that our inorganic fertilizer will be cheaper for Rwandans. It will improve soil fertility, and it will be easier just to use, because the compost that is being used in Rwanda right now just cause problems, and some of the waste is actually not used for the compost. But for just the yield, as you asked, there was no significant difference between the yield increase for inorganic fertilizer and for organic fertilizer.
No, thank you. That's a good result, though. Like, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that the actual performance is on par with the current market alternative. So that's excellent.
Right. And I wanted to commend you. I really liked your breakdown of how you were picking up the waste. The vehicles looked pretty cool. And
those ones are made in Rwanda.
I was like, all right, it's Rwandan made. And I was wondering, so was that completely figured out in terms of your costs on the refitting of all these vehicles, and how many do you need? I wasn't really clear on that. I think it's a great idea. I love it. But could you give me some more information about that?
Yes, yeah. So since we have limited source of capital as we start, we decided to start with those ones. And I mentioned that they have the capacity to carry 2 tons. And now that they are made in Rwanda and we've seen where they make them, we have the ability to customize them so that they can meet the capacity that I want. But we have already figured out the cost that will take us to get them.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
I have a quick question. Elias, congratulations and for taking on such a big problem. And I really appreciate the extensive testing and prototyping that you've done, especially into the alternatives. If I understand correctly, you add nitrogen and potassium in your cycle. Is that correct?
Yes.
So my question is, what are the sources of that nitrogen and potassium? And do you anticipate any problems when you scale of continuous supply of the additives that you put in, especially if your competition, the current fertilizer manufacturers want to disrupt what you're doing?
So for the source of nitrogen and potassium as well, are going to be from crop residues that are discarded and burnt in Rwanda. For instance, beans residues, like Rwandans cultivate a lot of beans because we actually eat a lot of beans than anything else. So those leguminous plants, such as beans residues, soya residues, and other residues that come from plantain which translate to banana trees, those have a large amount of nitrogen and potassium that we'll need. So we'll add those from those crop residues that will come from farmers that will be supplying our fertilizer to.
That's much clearer. Thank you very much.
Question from me, Elias. I think we're all sold on the idea of what you're doing and its potential that it has, and we can see some of the financials that you put in as well, all looking very impressive. I guess the big question beyond the product is how you actually get it into the hands of farmers. How do you convince them that this is something they should be using? And I know in your tech submission, you're talking about social media. Got to say, I've got my doubts about that. So please convince us.
That's a very good question. And so we are lucky that on our team we have two agricultural scientists, and one of them is actually is already now working with farmers through his internship with one eco fund, and he gets time to spend with farmers, and that's how we need. We'll be able to get our product in the hands of farmers, because we want to just talk to them directly, and that's why we have established a training center at our storehouse, where we'll be having our fertilizer, so that we can just give more information to the customers who are farmers as well. And the next tech that we are doing will be through those radio adverts, but we're also working with one director from the Rwanda Agricultural Board, which is an implementation agency for the Ministry of Agriculture, so that they can help us give this information to the larger population. And that's how we need to start. And we're also engaging the news reporters, so that we can get to talk on TV and write about our product, so that we can have farmers understand this, because this is going to be a behavioral change challenge that we have to do. And even segregating the waste, we also have to, to do a lot of spread of information, so that people can understand what we are doing. But we've already started.
I think a news piece is good, but it's like a one-hit wonder, isn't it? It makes an impact, but then it's gone, and it's yesterday's news, to coin the phrase. So it's interesting that you're working with the Agricultural Board. I think you need something that keeps the product in people's minds forever. Maybe that relationship with the Agricultural Board could be a starting point for you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Maybe I'll jump back in with another question for you, Elias. You said you need to sell 60 tons in year one to break even. What is your expected sales volume of fertilizer in year one?
In year one?
Yeah, you said that you need to, in order to break even, you need to sell 60 tons. Do you have commitments for 60 tons? Or if not, what commitments do you have from farmers right now?
So we have two NGOs that will be setting with them. So the other NGO that works with farmers has already agreed to try our fertilizer once we start producing. So we'll be able to say at least 96 tons.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you.
Great. Sounds like our judges are all set. Any other questions? All right. I'm just over here Googling how I can get my hands on one of those compost vehicles, right? Incredible. So efficient. Elias, thank you so much. Thank you, Team Pellet. Phenomenal job. Great work. Thanks, judges, for the Q&A. We are going to take a short break. That was a lot to take in, some really phenomenal information this morning. So we're going to do about a 12-minute break and reconvene at exactly 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see everybody back here in about 12 minutes. Thanks. Okay, welcome back to Wege Prize 2020. Next up, we have Team Biochar. And to present for Team Biochar is Emmanuel Hanyabi, who's working towards a master's degree in land use and environmental science at the University of Cape Coast in his native Ghana. Emmanuel, good to have you here today. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
Doing fantastic. Looking forward to your presentation. Go ahead and take it away.
That's great. Good morning. I'm Emmanuel Hanyabui. I'm representing Team Biochar. Our proposal is about recycling pineapple waste into soil amendment. The Millennium Development Goal focused in attaining ecological feasible sanitation system to significantly reduce sanitation problems across the world. FAO 2019 reported that Ghana produces up to about 677,122 metric tons of pineapple annually. In 2017, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations rates Ghana as the 12th highest pineapple producing country in the world. The increasing production of pineapple processed items results in massive waste generation. This is mainly due to elimination of components unsuitable for human consumption. A study conducted by Abdahi 2013 discovered that rough handling of the fruit and exposure to adverse environmental conditions during storage and transportation can cause up to 55% of the product waste. FAO 2019 also reported that the pineapple waste can make up to 65 to 67% of each weight of the pineapple produced. We can imagine the amount of waste that can be generated from the 677,122 metric tons of pineapple produced annually in Ghana. This becomes a nuisance to the environment. Bila et al. 2019 and Shima et al. 2019 stated that the best way to recycle this waste into useful amendment to increase crop yield and reduce adverse environmental impact is to convert it to biochar and compost. And by so doing, Team Biochar is helping to achieve Sustainable Development Goals 1, 2, 3, 6, 11, and 13, which talk about no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities and communities, climate action, respectively. In Ghana, actors involved in the pineapple value chain find it difficult to dispose their waste. They either bury the waste or they burn the waste. Or in another way, they dispose the waste indiscriminately. And this brings a lot of implication to the environment, such as air pollution, water pollution, flooding, disease outbreak. It also kills soil beneficial microorganisms. It also leads to global warming. All this leads to environmental pollution. Our goal is to convert all the pineapple waste generated along the pineapple value chain into useful soil amendment, that is biochar and compost, by using affordable, environmental friendly, and efficient biochar reactor known as the ASAL barrel. Now our solution, after gathering the pineapple waste, we will then sun dry the pineapple waste. By the help of our ASAL barrel, we will paralyze the pineapple waste into biochar. Then the biochar will be applied as a soil amendment. And when the crops are being matured and the fruit is being harvested, the waste will then be used. Then the process will start in a circular manner. Now the details of our solution. Our waste will be gathered from the farms, the processing units, and the marketplaces. We will then convey it to the transfer station with the help of transportation system. We also create a depot for the farmers and the processors and the market sellers to deposit the waste for us in order to reduce adverse environmental impact. But when the waste gets to the transfer station, we use the waste to prepare the biochar and the compost. But in the compost preparation, we are not going to depend solely on the pineapple waste. We will use other nitrogen sources such as poultry manure and carbon sources such as corn stover in order to decrease the CN ratio, because the lower the CN ratio, the faster the decomposition. When we get our biochar, we will sell it in a form of fertilizer. And when this is being applied on the field by the farmers, the waste that will be generated from the crops that they have been harvested, we will then use that waste again, then our process will start in a circular manner. Why we don't recommend inorganic fertilizer? Well, it is very costly for the farmers to purchase, especially the smallholder farmers. When we come to the environmental perspective, such as the air, some fertilizers, such as the nitrogen fertilizers, example like urea, release nitrous oxide into the atmosphere, causing to global warming. When we come to the water, for instance, when fertilizers are leached into water bodies as a result of heavy rainfall, it enriches these water bodies with minerals and nutrients, and this depletes the oxygen level in the water, leading to the death of aquatic life. It also pollutes drinking water for other rural areas. When we come to the soil, for instance, application of fertilizer, that is the inorganic fertilizer, result into soil acidification, mineral depletion, and it also kills soil beneficial microorganisms. Now our prototype, we have the picture of our biochar and how we are going to package it, and we also have our field demonstration. Now our business model and strategy. Our main product is biochar. We have other competitors in the market, and the market price for fertilizer in Ghana is $24 US. We are going to sell our own at 20% cheaper than our competitors. That will be $19.2 US. By so doing, we will capture a large market size and also be able to penetrate into the market. Our products will be sent to retail shop for the farmers to come and buy. We also give our numbers out and also advertise for the farmers to reach us, then we deliver the product to them. We also give promotion to farmers who give us the pineapple waste to prepare the biochar and the compost. We will involve them in our food demonstration for them to understand and appreciate what biochar is in terms of the production, the quantity to apply, and the time to apply the biochar. Now, the impact of biochar. Biochar sequester a lot of carbon, and living organisms depend on this carbon for their survival and perform their function in the soil, such as decomposition of organic matter. They also pore spaces in the soil that helps in aeration and infiltration capacity. Biochar improves cation exchange capacity, helps in aggregate stability, and improve water holding capacity. Therefore, helps in the quality of the soil in order to get good results when we grow our crops. Some soil-borne diseases, such as root rot in tomato, and soil-borne pathogens, such as Fusarium and Phytophthora, can be suppressed as a result of biochar application. It also helps in food security. There will be enough food which will be safe and nutritious for all people. Biochar application also helps in climate change mitigation. It fixes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into the soil. It also minimizes the production of methane gas from the soil. Biochar application also helps to soften nitrous oxide and restrict its escape into the atmosphere. Now, biochar has a lot of functional group. That is the oxygen-containing functional group. That is a hydroxyl and carboxyl group. And these have a strong relationship with heavy metals, such as electrostatic attraction. This helps to remove the heavy metal in the soil as a contaminant, as in the water as a contaminant. I present to you Team Biochar. We are a motivated group with interdisciplinary background in 4 different countries, bonded with a focus of solving the wicked problem in the economy of Ghana. I also present to you our mentor, Professor Kwame Adjei-Frimpong, Professor in Soil Fertility and Soil Science, and our mentors, Environmental Protection Agency Ghana, Climate Innovation Center Ghana, and Blue Skies Ghana Limited, and also Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, where we conduct most of our lab analysis. Thank you for your attention, Team Biochar.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Great presentation. Love that you shared your mentors and partners as well. Thank you for your tenacity for this work. We're going to give the judges a few minutes to talk amongst themselves, and then they'll do some Q&A with you. So in the meantime, we have learned that you recently won a 6-month scholarship through the Intra-Africa Mobility Project. What is that? What has that enabled you to do? Tell us all about it.
Okay, the Intra-Africa Mobility Project gives students the opportunity to travel to different countries in order to broaden their horizon and showcase their research work. And by so doing, I've met a lot of people in my field of study, and which has given me the opportunity to share thoughts and what is new in my field of study. And this helped me to survive in the academic discipline.
Good for you. And what has inspired you to do this work?
Waste management in Ghana, it's a problem. And biochar application is at its infancy in Ghana.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you for also gathering your teammates to do that. Judges, all set? Ready for your questions? Ready to go?
I guess.
Right. Great. Emmanuel, you're up with the judges now. Take it away.
All right, Michael, you go ahead. You got.
Sure, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Hi, Emmanuel. Great presentation, and I am throughout this competition have gotten educated myself on biochar, an area of soil science that I'm not very familiar with. So, thank you for all the work you and the team have been doing on this. So it seems to me in the scientific literature, there are quite a few studies on the benefits of biochar and not very many studies on the risks of biochar. So my question is on the risks. There seem to be some emerging studies on how biochar increases soil dust emissions, including very, very small particles of particulate matter called PM10. And biochar may also be composed of some hazardous chemicals because when you burn anything, you generate some hazardous chemicals, including substances called PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And so my question is, have you done any analysis to characterize the chemical composition of your biochar and any potential health impacts, human health impacts, because of dust or those chemicals, or soil health impacts?
Yes, we've done that. We know biochar has a lot of consequences, a lot of carbon. And due to its nature, it's very porous. And some living organisms hide in it as a habitat to prevent themselves from predators.
Interesting.
I wasn't aware of that. And it sounds like you have or have not done chemical composition studies on your biochar from the pineapple waste?
Yeah, we've done the physicochemical properties of the biochar that we produce. We have the ash content, the cation exchange capacity, the exchangeable cations and exchangeable acidity.
Great. And my basic understanding is that that's really important, especially the cationic exchange within the soil. I'll turn it over to my other judges given the time. Thank you so much.
The pleasure.
Emmanuel, go ahead, Alicia. You're on mute, Alicia.
Pardon me. I'd like to ask on a similar thread, why pineapple waste is a feedstock of choice for biochar in your case? Are there other sources of feedstock that are equally good, or is pineapple waste give you a particular composition of biochar that is advantageous from your perspective?
Not really. But the location that we are surrounded by communities who are into massive pineapple production. And by so doing, they generate a lot of waste in the markets, the processing units. but we've used other materials such as the corn stover and the corn cob to produce the biochar. But our main focus was on the pineapple waste because it is being generated in the community the community that the university is established. And this becomes a nuisance in the environment. That is why we intend to use the pineapple waste to prepare our biochar.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
I have a question, Emmanuel, and that is, when you're successful, your model requires inputs of large amounts of pineapple waste here. Have you thought about how your model needs to change, especially on the economic side, if farmers decide they don't want to give you their pineapple waste anymore and they want to charge you for their pineapple waste?
They will actually give it to us because, as I said earlier on, the biochar production is at its infancy. If they tend to use the pineapple waste to prepare their own biochar, they don't know the technical know-how of the biochar production. And in the biochar production, we don't want to produce ash. When you produce ash, you are then reducing the stability of the biochar. And because they don't have the technical know-how to do that, they will not produce quality biochar that can improve the soil quality or sequester a lot of carbon in the soil.
What are they doing with the pineapple waste now?
They give it to the piggery production people. They feed it to the piggery production people. And in the piggery production, we have other materials or other feed that they give to them that improve upon the health of the pigs. But if they use the pineapple waste, for instance, some has thorns, especially the leaves, for instance, when they consume it, it becomes a problem for them.
Understood.
Right.
Can you give us a bit of insight into the numbers, Emmanuel, of like how many pineapples does the unit take, and how long does it take to convert the pineapple waste into the biochar?
Okay, depending on the nature of the pineapple waste, it takes only 30 minutes to complete the pyrolysis. When we compare it to the other materials that we use to produce the biochar, like the corn stover may last like 45 minutes, and the rice husks may last like 50 minutes before the pyrolysis will end. But because of the nature of the pineapple waste, when it gets dried, it becomes the weight reduces. And when we load it into the barrel and we started our pyrolysis, the pyrolysis time goes very fast as compared to other materials that we use to prepare the biochar.
Does that mean you can be very mobile? You can finish quickly within an hour and be in another location quite fast?
Yes, please. We can, depending on the barrel that we are using, we can send it to other places to prepare the biochar. But when we are producing in larger quantity, we have to centralize it because it can't be moved to one place to other. And this may increase the transportation costs that we may incur.
Interesting. Well, I wanted to ask, you had mentioned or in your presentation about the heavy metal reduction. Could you sort of expand upon that? I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. It sounded
okay. Okay, for biochar to qualify as heavy metal removal, it has three properties: the porous structure, the functional group, and the aggregate stability. Now, the abundant functional group, that is the carbon, the oxygen containing ones, that is the hydroxyl and the carboxylic group, has a strong relationship with heavy metals, such as the electrostatic attraction and ion exchange. And when this biochar is applied and there is this attraction, that is the electrostatic and the ion exchange, it tends to remove or attach or absorption these heavy metals. Therefore, remove these heavy metals from the wastewater.
That's great. I really like that. Excellent.
Thank you.
Quick question. Have you prototyped this in the field with your potential customers?
Yes, we've done several farmers participatory approach, and they really appreciate. We've sent them to the field, and we also have farm around where they are also farming. So they have a look at what we are doing compared to what they are also doing, and there is vast difference.
Thank you.
How are you going to convince Emmanuel customers to use this, or farmers to use your service?
Sorry, come again.
How will you convince people to use your service?
By involving the farmers in the biochar application on the field, and explicitly explaining the concept of biochar or the science behind the biochar, they will appreciate and use biochar. And in that sense, I stated that some farmers, because of the cost of inorganic fertilizers, they can't purchase that. So if biochar can do exactly what inorganic fertilizer can do, then they will actually come and purchase our product, that is the biochar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Emmanuel, and thank you to Team Biochar. I'm convinced to buy it. Thank you, judges. Great work, everybody. Okay, we've got one team left, one finalist team left, Team Y Oil. And presenting for Team Y Oil is Sarah Farr, who's working towards her undergraduate degree in plant biology from the University of Calgary in her native Canada, our neighbors. Hi there, Sarah. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
Good, well, we're excited to have you. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. So my name is Sarah, and I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Team Y Oil today. So canola is one of Canada's largest industries, worth $27 billion. But stakeholders across the industry lose $730 million every year due to how we manage two wicked problems. And these two problems are the green seed problem and the sclerotinia problem. The green seed problem occurs when inclement weather causes seeds to contain the green chlorophyll pigment at the time of harvest. These green seeds are more difficult to process, so they sell for a lower price, and this means that farmers lose $150 million every single year. Sclerotinia, which is a fungal disease, causes stem rot in canola crops and results in more than 50% harvest loss when it infects the crops. So farmers end up losing $580 million every year from this damaging fungus. Harnessing the power of protein engineering, our goal is to create a sustainable and circular solution to these problems. So the canola oil value chain follows this general pattern. First, canola plants are grown, the seeds are harvested, and then they're pressed into a green oil, which is then processed to yield a consumer-ready yellow oil. But because of the sclerotinia and green seed problems, there are excessive input costs and waste involved in this production process. To deal with sclerotinia, farmers spend on average $21,000 on fungicides. But these fungicides only prevent and don't actually treat the infection, which means that farmers are taking a gamble every time they decide to apply it to their crops. The broad range effects of the fungicide are also detrimental to the surrounding ecosystem. In order to get rid of the green chlorophyll pigment, the industry currently uses acid-activated clays, but the processing conditions are costly and the yield is very low. Worst of all, the clays are single-use and cause a lot of damage to the environment upon disposal. The process stream also has two additional waste products. The first is canola meal, which is leftover seed mush from pressing out the oil. It's mixed with the acid-activated clays and sold as animal feed with damaging effects on the surrounding ecosystem. The second is gum, which is a thick oil byproduct that's removed from the pressed oil during processing. The lack of end-use market means that the gums are just burned off or disposed of by a third-party company. So these excess input costs and waste make for a really unsustainable system. Inspired by the three tenets of the circular economy, our team looked to using cleaner biological alternatives to circularize canola oil processing. And we've designed a system that tackles both of these problems together by using the green seed problem to solve the sclerotinia problem. So to do this, we turned to protein engineering. We developed a new chlorophyll extraction system that uses a protein which can be emulsified in the oil to naturally collect the chlorophyll pigment. And the advantage of this solution is that it's reusable, meaning that after the chlorophyll pigment is collected and removed from the oil, it can be used for something else. And that's where the sclerotinia problem comes in. We actually found that the chlorophyll pigment can be degraded into thiophormide, which is an antifungal agent that inhibits the growth of the sclerotinia fungus. But what about the gums in the canola meal that were unused waste products in the previous production stream? Turns out we found a use for both of those products. So the gums that are collected from the canola oil can actually be used as a surfactant, as a part of the biological chlorophyll extraction process. In addition, the pure canola meal can be used as a feedstock material for the bacteria that produce the protein, and can also be sold as a natural fertilizer as well, with no damaging effects on the environment. Together, this results in a system that benefits all stakeholders whilst cutting out excess waste and providing a sustainable circular solution to multiple problems in the canola industry. And the best part is, this isn't just a theory anymore. So our project is 1 year in the making, with our novel advancements in genetic engineering winning us a second place prize amongst 300 teams at the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition, beating out teams from Oxford and MIT. We've spent the last year developing a proof of concept for our protein emulsion system, which shows marked improvements from the previous clay system. Our first improvement was reducing the energy costs. The clays require high temperatures for efficient processing, but in comparison, our chlorophyll removal system is designed to operate at room temperature, and it removes twice as much chlorophyll whilst doing so. In addition, our system was designed to minimize the oil loss. So our method retains 92% of oil, whereas acid-activated clays lose over 20% in the manufacturing process. We've also been able to demonstrate that thiophormide works as an antifungal agent, with increasing concentrations showing increased inhibition of the sclerotinia fungus growth. But this isn't the end of the road for us just yet. With our award-winning technology under our belt, we look towards establishing ourselves as a business on the canola market. Due to the high R&D costs and timeline associated with fully developing a fungicide for commercial use, our team first decided to focus on bringing the chlorophyll removal system to market. So we first started by looking at the processing cost for canola oil. Oil producers usually purchase acid-activated clays at a fixed cost. In comparison, the biological nature of our system allows for an exponential decrease in the cost required to produce our protein as the total processing volume increases. As a result, we realized that we wouldn't be able to outcompete clays with cost efficiency with protein production volumes lower than 40,000 tons annually. But our target is to partner with an oil producer that produces a total volume above this threshold, so our proteins are more profitable. Knowing that a minimum process volume of $40,000 was necessary, we reached out to Richardson Oilseed, a large local oil processing company. But we learned from them that entering the market through large-scale processing wouldn't actually be so simple. Upon hearing about our design, Richardson Oilseed first told us that it was crucial that our technology integrates with existing equipment at manufacturing facilities for any oil producer to even consider a partnership. Additionally, we learned that larger scale oil manufacturers are a little bit more resistant to implementing new technology into their already existing tried and true manufacturing pipelines. So with these three challenges in mind, we decided that the sweet spot to target would be to partner with smaller but still industrial scale oil producers. Although each oil producer that's small produces only approximately 18,000 tons of oil per year, if we partner with three, that would push us above the 40,000 ton per year oil production threshold, allowing our proteins to be sold at a competitive price to the acid-activated clays. We also made it a point to design our protein production process and emulsion system to require no additional infrastructure whatsoever at existing oil facilities. Last but not least, our partnership with small-scale oil producers would allow us to validate our model on a relevant industrial scale, and it would allow us to optimize the process conditions and reputation that we need to later integrate our system with larger oil producers. With these three objectives in mind, our role in this partnership would be to produce this protein, sell the protein to the oil producer for use, and then buy back a portion of the canola meal produced in the oil production process, which then we can sell as a fertilizer for profit. With this system, each small-scale oil producer actually saves $4.8 million per year. Their bleaching process cost goes down from $707 per ton of oil with the clay system down to a whopping $438 per ton of oil. This is a 38% decrease in their overall bleaching expense. On our end, this results in a 7.17% operational profit on an annual basis. As we expand our system to more oil producers, this operational profit is expected to exponentially increase. Based on published recombinant protein production models, we estimate our initial startup cost to be approximately $2.2 million distributed over 2 years of construction. These costs are distributed over renting space, installing necessary equipment, controls, electrical systems, and contingency costs in case of emergency. Because our system is designed to integrate into existing oil production facilities, the startup cost falls on us. And although 2.2 million might seem like a lot at first, we've predicted the cash flow of our model over the next 5 years, where our break-even point would occur near the first quarter of our 4th year. By the 5th year, we would reach a post-tax profit of $750,000 per year. As our system becomes more established and net profits increase, we plan on reinvesting this excess capital into research and development for the full characterization of thiophormide as a fungicide, so we can make steps towards fully circularizing our system. And also, we want to look towards scaling our chlorophyll removal process to various edible oils, such as soybeans. So with these plans in place, you may be asking us, where are we currently? So far, our team has been able to validate our technology in the lab, and with the support of various programs and organizations, we've secured our first prize money from a pitch competition, bringing us to where we are today. In the future, our goals are to optimize our procedures in the laboratory and then turn to partnering with oil production facilities to test our tech. Yoil started out as a modest research project, but has grown into something else entirely. The 5 of us spent the last year attending canola trade shows, talking to farmers, and rooting ourselves in the industry, and we are proud to have found a home in this innovative corner of Alberta. With the future in our hands, we must work together to responsibly change our biggest industries. By reducing waste, minimizing environmental harm, and closing the production cycle, we can create a brighter future. Let Yoil be the change you wish to see. I'd like to thank our sponsors that have helped us on this journey, and I will now be accepting questions.
Excellent work, Sarah. Thank you so much. We're going to chat for a minute or two while the judges chat, and then the judges will give you about 10 minutes of Q&A. So Sarah, incredible. That was phenomenal. I'm curious, what inspired you and your team in the canola oil space?
My whole team is based in Alberta, so all of us, we're proud Albertans, we're proud Canadians, and we know that agriculture and the canola industry is really, really big here. So we wanted to make an impact on a local problem, something that we can help our friends and family with. So that's how we settled on looking into the canola industry and trying to tackle one of the biggest issues that they have, which is the green seed problem.
Incredible. You know, I know a bit about canola oil. I know people with autoimmune disease, it's inflammatory for them. And I'm wondering if with reducing the bleaching process, if that would be something that people with autoimmune disease can more easily digest. It's interesting.
There's a lot of research that's being done on improving like the components of canola oil itself. And that's also something that Yoil is really interested in looking into in the future. And also as a plant biology student myself, it's something that is, I guess, on the table for pursuing as a part of my studies in the future as well.
Well, good, thank you. On that note, you're still an undergrad. What is your plan for the future?
Actually, I just finished my undergrad this semester, and I have the plans to start my master's in plant biotechnology and research in the fall. So that's going to be really exciting. I hope to pursue some components of this project as well as a part of my master's program.
Incredible. Are you staying in Canada?
Yes, I'm staying in Calgary, Alberta.
Fantastic. My grandparents are Canadian, so special affiliation. Yeah, wonderful. Judges, all set? Great. Good. Well, take it away.
I'll jump in since I have a question with the thinking underlying your solution. So I applaud you on a really interesting technological fix to a current industry that is wasteful. My question is around, have you thought about why we're in this problem in the first place, in the sense of industrialized agriculture with monocrops being the way that we do things, with canola being emblematic of that. Soybeans, you mentioned, is another example. There's a huge amount of side effects, including the need for pesticides, the need for a lot of tech fixes in order to prop up a system that is fundamentally problematic from an ecological standpoint. And there are other approaches to farming that are showing that the use of perennials, the use of interspersing crops, so that the whole system from an ecological perspective is more balanced. You know, there's alternative ways to do things. So I'm just curious whether it seems to me that your approach takes as for granted that the current system of industrialized agriculture is here to stay. And I'm wondering if you've thought of alternative futures as being part of your vision of a future that you can play a part in.
Yeah, so you're definitely right. Like there are a lot of different ways that problems in the agriculture industry can be tackled. But when it comes to the canola industry and the green seed and sclerotinia problems in particular, we actually look to tackle these problems because these are problems that aren't easily mitigated by just doing crop rotation or introducing other species into the field and things like that. The reason for that is the green seed problem is dependent entirely on the weather that year and doesn't have anything to do with any of the surrounding organisms. So if you plant your canola and then you have an early frost that year, that's game over. You have a lot of chlorophyll in your seeds, and it's not really something that can be mitigated by like altering the ecological environment surrounding the crops. And also when it comes to the sclerotinia problem, the spores for the sclerotinia fungus are very, very resilient, more so than a lot of other fungi. So other fungus-related problems can be solved via crop rotation, but this particular fungus is very persistent and it can't be. That's why we thought we might look towards a more technical way to tackle this problem.
Interesting, thank you.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about this protein that you've developed, how it was developed, and it seems like it's not a naturally occurring protein.
It actually is a naturally occurring protein. So a certain group of ferns contain this protein that transiently binds to chlorophyll in the cytoplasm of the cell, in the cell soup, I guess you could say. So this protein does occur in nature, and it was characterized as a part of a basic science research project that we found through literature review. But on our end, we've made some modifications for it to suit our system better. So we've modified some residues in the protein to make it better bind the chlorophyll. So yes, it is naturally occurring, but we've just modified it for our purposes.
Is there any danger of that protein getting out into the wild with those modifications, or certainly in scale in a place where it might naturally not have occurred?
So one of the biggest benefits of our system is that the protein production occurs in one facility and it's all contained in that facility. And the only thing that leaves the facility is the protein and not the genetically modified organism that produces it. So we have, I guess, designed our system to contain the bacteria so that we won't release it into the wild, just to mitigate any possible environmental effects. And the protein itself, because it's actually purified out of the oil before it's sold to consumers, it doesn't end up in the final product as well.
If the protein is that much better at processing chlorophyll, could it be used in other applications as well?
Yes, actually, one of the biggest, I guess, future directions that we want to look into is the use of this system for algal biofuels. So the presence of chlorophyll is one of the biggest issues in biofuel processing as well. So if we could also adapt this system to remove chlorophyll from biofuels, it would really, really help the fuel industry, which is another big industry here in Alberta. So it's great for us.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's really, really excellent. I find all your research and obviously you've already been working on this for a couple of years and getting finding out more and more information about it. And it's great to hear that it has other applications. And also, I must comment, I like your jean jacket mafia sort of picture there, where you guys all to be clothed appropriately, or this must be, you're like a team. It's great. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
The work and that you've really explained everything very clearly. So to me, it sounds like such an excellent use of the science and how you're able to apply it to an industry that you've identified that it has such a deficiency in its present model. So it's great stuff.
Thanks.
Sarah, I'm interested, by the way, I also think great presentation, very polished. and I can see why you've been successful. Could you tell us a little bit about the origin story of this idea? Where did it all come from?
So this project started out with an undergraduate team competing in the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition. It's like a big synthetic biology competition that happens annually in Boston. But my team that was based at the University of Calgary, we looked to use biology to solve problems that existed in the real world. And being a plant biology major myself, I talked to my PI and some other people involved in the industry and was kind of feeling around for any issues that we could explicitly solve using our biotech technology. And we found we came across this green seed problem and this sclerotinia problem. And because it's so local, because it's so dear to us, and because it's such a big issue for Canada and the world as a whole, really, we thought it would be worth tackling.
Interesting, thank you.
Sarah, what is the biggest risk to developing the fungicide? I know a little bit about biocides and regulations, and curious why you, as a small group, might try to tackle this big effort to get a fungicide or a biocide approved.
Right. So I guess the biggest thing that's holding us back in terms of the fungicides is that the characterization of theophorabide as a fungicide is very, very new. The very first paper actually detailing its effects as a fungicide was published just last year in 2019 in March, I believe. So it's a new field of study, and it does require a lot more like depth and looking into before it can really be pushed as a commercial like product. So we definitely do see that there is potential in it in the future. It's just that we haven't incorporated it into our current business model because it's not feasible at like a shorter term scale. That being said, we do believe based on our results that the fungicide is very, very promising. So in the future, we do hope to partner with a research institute and various other labs to kind of have a collaborative like science effort to characterize the fungicide, characterize its effects on the plant, as well as on, I guess, the general ecosystem before it can really be used and sold as a commercial fungicide.
Great. Thank you. So the I've got two screens here, so I'm looking at your circle flows. So then the pigments would be used in theory to generate the antifungal treatment. What is happening to the pigments today?
So even though the antifungal treatment is like the end goal, there are still other established markets for the pigments. It can be used as a clothing or a food dye. They've also been sold as a part of like supplements. So these, like the chlorophyll's pigments can be used for other applications. We just think for the sake of the circularity of the system, in the end, it would be nice if we could repurpose it into an antifungal.
And today, is it currently not, is it a waste byproduct today?
Yeah, so the issue with the current clay system is that it binds the chlorophyll and it actually can't separate from the chlorophyll. So there isn't really anything you can do with the chlorophyll after the fact. But with our system, because our protein can actually release the chlorophyll once it's bound, we actually open up a whole new, I guess, set of uses for that chlorophyll. It just doesn't go straight to waste. We can actually use it for other things. Yeah.
Got it. So today you're able to release the chlorophyll pigments from your protein.
Mm-hmm.
And so then future research is to figure out how can you make use of the chlorophyll instead of it becoming a waste stream. So do you recover that protein? Is that continuously recovered?
Yeah, the protein can be recovered and they can be used up to 7 to 10 times, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Got it. And then what happens?
The proteins are biological molecules, so they can be like broken down really easily and decomposed, composted, and they could be recycled back into the protein production stream as well. So the components that made up the proteins can be broken down and they're fed back into the bacteria, and then they can make more protein.
Wow. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, judges. Great questions. Sarah and Team Wye Oil and your Jean Jacket team there. Love it. Thank you so much for your presentation and your hard work on this. All right, everybody, we're going to take a break. Let the judges deliberate and connect with each other. Take some break for lunch, if that's that time of day for you. We're going to come back here at exactly 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time. We'll announce the winner of the third place for $5,000, the winner of the second place for $10,000, and the winner of first place for $15,000 for Wege Prize 2020. So we'll see you back here in a little over an hour at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. See you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wege Prize 2020. Now, before we announce the winners, I'd like to welcome Tara McCracken, president of Kendall College of Art and Design of Ferris State University, to say a few words for all of you. Tara?
Hello, everyone. It's been a pleasure to gather with you all today in this virtual space to hear from these incredible young people who are not just thinking about changing the world, but doing it. This is our 7th year showcasing the work of Wege Prize finalists on a global stage, and this has been quite the deviation from how we normally run this event. But here's the thing about normal. We're never going back. We need to reframe our thinking to what's next? Because of this global pandemic, we'll continue to have to change the way we interact with each other, the way we teach and learn, the way we work, the way we live, and these changes will be hard. They'll be uncomfortable and challenging. But with everything the sudden loss of normalcy has taken from us, it's also given us an enormous opportunity. Because why should we settle for returning to normal when we have a chance to build something better? A world where we stop accepting wicked problems like waste, environmental degradation, poverty, and inequality as inevitable and start challenging, rethinking, and redesigning the systems that perpetuate them. And this becomes what's next. If COVID-19 has shown us anything, it's that amazing things are possible when we collaborate across the boundaries that divide us, and that the only way we'll conquer the immense challenges before us is by facing them together. To the passionate, creative problem solvers we heard from today, and the millions more like them around the world, this is your moment. Wege Prize is about so much more than the awards we're about to present. It's about empowering ourselves and each other to embrace new ways of thinking, seeing, and working together. And if what we've witnessed today is any indication of things to come, I'd say the future is in good hands. On behalf of everyone here at Kendall College of Art and Design of Ferris State University, I'd like to thank all of our Wege Prize 2020 competitors for their hard work, courage, and dedication. I would also like to thank the Wege Foundation, the entire Wege Prize planning team, and our esteemed judges for continuing to believe in this competition and what it represents. Stay safe, stay inspired, and stay connected. I look forward to the future that we're going to create together, and I can't wait to see what's next. Thank you.
Thank you, President McCracken. That was right on. Now, before we announce the winners, I'm going to ask that our judges come forward and share some focused feedback to our teams. So judges, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Nathan, would you like to take away for further food first?
I'm taking Yoel, so Elisa, I think you were first, and then Colin.
Oh, I'm first. Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Let's go, yeah. We'll go out of order at this point.
Sure,
This
sounds
is
good.
new normal, everyone.
Team Biochar, your team has taken on a large-scale waste problem from pineapple production and developed a solution that helps improve soil health and carbon retention. So these are two things that are critically important to our future. So rather than burying or burning the pineapple waste, you've incubated and prototyped a solution that involves creation of biochar, a charcoal-like substance with the purpose and intent of using it as a soil amendment. What I really appreciate is that your solution was clear, and also that you are backing it up with soil science, including your understanding of its impact on things like pH and ash content, dust content, and even cationic exchange properties within the soil. The success of your solution will be in part dependent on your cost structure for logistics and production and being able to effectively compete with synthetic organic fertilizers. But ultimately, you'll need to prove to farmers that for their crops, it makes the most sense to use biochar as a soil amendment rather than the more expensive synthetic fertilizers. My basic and limited understanding is that there are different versions and compositions of biochar depending on the starting material, but I appreciated that you performed control and variable studies on maize, cabbage, and pineapple to understand how using biochar versus compost versus NPK fertilizers impacted your crop yield. And the results appear variable, which is to be expected. In some instances, biochar is more favorable to NPK and compost, and in others, the inverse is true. But this should help you target what crops where your biochar is most favorable over expensive synthetic fertilizers. It would be great if, in the continuation of your work and your study, you could further document ecosystem health improvements if the waste streams, the pineapple waste stream shifts toward biochar instead of burning or burying, as I think that can also support and bolster your solution. Great work during this competition. I've really valued and appreciated watching your solution develop and evolve over time. You've come a long way. Congratulations again, getting this far. And thank you.
Okay, I'm going to pick up next then. I'm going to give some feedback to Further Food. Margot, you were the first person to present today, and that is a tough gig, but I think you did a fantastic job of it. You were full of energy, full of information, and presented the case, I think, really strongly for what is a really impressive idea. Now, we've heard ideas before about dealing with campus food waste, but what I think really impressed me a lot about yours was that you were moving beyond one campus and had already begun conversations with other universities about how this could be taken on. And of course, as you explained to us in the Q&A, you yourself are in a position that you can influence things beyond the capacity that we often hear from entrants in the Wege Prize because of the role that you are taking up. I wasn't thoroughly convinced by the reusable containers answer. I take your point on taking the container straight into the microwave and using that. I'd love to hear a bit more about the possibilities of reusable containers, but it has been a long time since I was a student, so perhaps your more immediate experience trumps mine on that front. I think there's interesting questions that will be raised about menu design, if this afternoon's lunch preparations could actually become this evening's meals, and will that have knock-on effects in terms of how we plan our food throughout the day. But I think the biggest implication for me is the potential for this to go beyond the campus into all sorts of different environments. And if you get this right, and if you can impress the right kind of people with this idea, this could really take off and become a new normal for dealing with food waste on this type of scale. So thank you very much.
I'll pick up next. So I'll talk a little bit about Haya bioplastics. I think that I speak for everyone when I say that your solution was very, very innovative, very impressive. And specifically, there's a couple of angles to it that were just showed a really good level of deep thinking about the wicked solution that wicked problem that you've identified and the solution that you're proposing. So first of all, we've seen there's a lot of examples of bioplastics out there, but the use of a local invasive species as your feedstock is a very nice insight that drives your solution. So I think that tackling that and giving a solution to that is a very, very big strong point of your proposal. More specifically, the tying of that invasive species to also community issues such as being breeding grounds for malaria with the mud that the hyacinth grows in, as well as the reduction in fishing that can be a cause of it. All of these aspects really give weight to the amount that you've thought of why this needs to be tackled. So really commend you on the kind of deep analysis that you've done of the problem. And then therefore the solution that you've put forward is also incredibly replicable, scalable, which is very promising for seeing this as a solution that will take off. The use of fibers in combination with starch as a binder, and then vinegar and glycerol is a very nice recipe that really utilizes the best properties of those constituent ingredients while making sure that it's a biodegradable resource at end of life. And in tackling a problem that is as intractable as waste plastic, it offers a very elegant local solution for that can actually be made with local production tools. So the whole package is very impressive, and I just commend the whole team on the thinking that went into each part of it. And a final point is that you've done very good testing of all parts of the production process in terms of piloting it as well. So it's a solution that I think is very attractive on that front as well. So well done.
Okay, I guess I'm here for Pellet, and Pellet, you really impressed us with I guess it was the 50% of growth of the yield of the maize, although we had to ask you generally if it was comparative to the other inorganic fertilizer that was available, and you answered that beautifully. Also, it was just your solid research and the projected costs and how you broke that down. You answered that extremely well. We then questioned you a little bit about how this was going to get out and how you were going to be able to contact the other farmers. Again, you handled that beautifully. And then I'd also like to point out, like through all that solid research, the creative solutions that you came up with, the vehicle that you spoke about that would be Rwandan made. I think could serve to help it sort of be an avenue of identity for seeing these new converted vehicles that are going to be roaming around. Helps to add to the I guess your presence in the region and how this is affecting those farmers. It's just, I really think it's a wonderful solution. And it's also another way to I guess let other people know in the region of what's going on and what the possibilities are that are happening for you guys. So with that, we really enjoyed your solution, and we see that it's could be definitely replicable in the future.
And with that, I'll bat clean up. But first of all, I just wanted to say that having been a part of this competition since the beginning, every year we see a ratcheting up of the quality of the finalists that we see. And this year is probably the most intense competition that we've seen yet. We always get some submissions in the beginning that really aren't even circular, maybe they're sustainable, et cetera. But the strength of the circularity of all 5 of these finalists were really impressive. And we talked about that in the judging, in our little judging area. So to give you some feedback, Yoel, we're really impressed by the development that you've done. In particular, you've made some really smart decisions along the way about reacting to what you found in prototyping and in development, like deciding to partner with small-scale industrial oil producers rather than to go big immediately, et cetera. So we're impressed by your decision-making. Your presentation was completely professional, and all of your materials are particularly clear. And I particularly like that you use images and text in a really balanced way with all of your materials sort of functioning at a high level and to their own strengths. You've attacked a really age-old challenge, and you've done so with very technologically new solutions. And so that's exciting to see. Especially the fact that you're not just creating one circular solution, you're sort of embedding multiple circles within your solution in order to tackle several challenges at once. And I know that not all of them are ready yet, but to see that thinking process and that planning is really helpful. We really appreciate your clarity. And we also acknowledge that you have considerable investment needed and in both funding and resources and coordination in order to make this system work. We think it's smart that you've already engaged partners along the way in order to, both explore and build out a potential solution, because this is a very much a systemic issue that will require a systemic response. So well done.
Wonderful. Thank you, judges. Nathan, I would echo what you said. I was saying this year, in 7 years of emceeing this event, these have been my favorite projects. So thank you, students, for your brilliant ideas and for having such tenacity for our Earth. Now, It's time to name our winners. On screen, you'll see the beautiful trophies that we have in place, but they aren't just for show. So first off, we want to take this opportunity to once again congratulate all 29 teams that participated in Wege Prize 2020. It's incredible. You should all be so proud of your amazing work, and we hope that you never stop building together towards a better future. It is more important now than ever. And these trophies have extraordinary symbolism. On their own, each trophy contains just a few of the spheres that make up the Wege Prize logo. It's only when each of the 5 pieces come together that it reveals the full picture. Just as it takes the contributions of each individual team member and their unique skills and experiences to solve these wicked problems. To put it simply, together, we're better. Both the logo and these trophies represent the powerful potential for collaboration that our finalist teams have demonstrated here today. Now, we've only mentioned the 1st through 3rd place awards so far, but we want to stress how impressed the judges and the Wege Prize organizational team are with what each of our 5 finalist teams have shown us here today. Each of these teams gave us all in their competition. And on behalf of Kendall College of Art and Design of Ferris State University and its Wege Center for Sustainable Design, we want you to know how much your effort and your ideas are truly appreciated. So we're gonna start the awards ceremony off by recognizing 2 teams who are receiving $1,000 finalist awards for being among the 5 teams left standing in a global competition featuring some of the best and brightest college and university students in the world. That's you. That is no small feat, truly. All right, first and foremost, congratulations. Finalist award team number 1. Congratulations. The first finalist award for Wege Prize 2020 goes to Team Biochar. Congratulations. Incredible work. Amazing idea.
Okay.
I'm going to snap. That's my thing. All right. Congratulations, Team Biochar. All right. Now, finalist award number 2. Our second team receiving a finalist award here today is Team Y-Oil, Team Yoil. Congratulations. All right, and now it's time to name our 3rd place winner. The winner of $5,000 and 3rd place in Wege Prize 2020 is... I like it. Pellet! Congratulations. Great drum roll. I love that. Congratulations, Team Pellet. Wonderful work. And now, the judge's choice for 2nd place and the winner of $10,000 is Team Further Focus right here in Grand Rapids.
Thank you so much. I am so happy and honored to accept this award for my team. But I think it's so much more than the award too. It's more than the money. It's more than us as individuals. It's about the problem at hand and solving it. And I'm just glad that we can continue doing this work. Thank you.
Congratulations, Team Further Foods. Awesome work. Congratulations, Margot. And of course, that means that the winner of the 1st place Wege Prize 2020 competition and $15,000 for Wege Prize 2020 award is Team Haya Bioplastic. Congratulations. Awesome. Congratulations, Team Haya.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wege Prize. Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. Be among the best teams in 2020 Wege Prize. Thank you very much.
Yes, and congratulations on last year winning 3rd place, this year winning 1st place. Incredible, incredible feat. All right, everybody, let's hear it one more time for all of our competitors, all of our students. Great work, everybody. And for our judges, thank you. All right, Gail.
Well, I know we just wrapped up Wege Prize 2020, but who's ready for next year. Wege Prize 2021 will again be open to undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate students from anywhere in the world, and will again be focused on circular economy. And when does it start? Well, it starts right now. So start connecting and brainstorming today, and sign up for Wege Prize mailing list at wegeprize.org for all the latest updates and information. Also, be sure to follow Wege Prize on Facebook and join the Wege Prize LinkedIn group, where you can begin to network with other potential participants from around the world. On behalf of KCAD and its Wege Center for Sustainable Design, we would like to thank you all for coming out to support these students and the spirit of the Wege Prize competition. We would also like to thank our judges for their dedication and care in choosing our finalists and winners. And we would like to dedicate, once again, say thank you to the Wege Foundation for their unwavering support.
If you'll all join me for a minute, and a big shout out to Gail, who continues to be such a leader and a champion for this competition and for this work and for our Earth. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Gail. But don't go anywhere. We don't want anyone to go anywhere just yet. We're gonna take a quick 30-minute break and come right back for our Judges Forum. Everyone watching here today is invited to join our finalist team members and our judges for an open discussion recapping our solutions presented, further evaluating their potential for real-world implementation, and exploring where Wege Prize and the circular economy are headed for the future. For those of you that can't stick around, a video recap of the Judges Forum will be posted to the Wege Prize YouTube channel, Facebook page, and the KCAD Wege Center for Sustainable Design LinkedIn page in the coming days. See, there's benefits to all this technology, yeah? But for now, we thank those of you who joined us online and invite you to always stay connected with Wege Prize. We'd love to hear from you. And once again, congratulations to the brilliant winners of Wege Prize 2020. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes. Judges, thanks again. Bye, everybody.